Absolutely.
All right. Hello. My name is Christy Cox. Welcome to the EDS and Power Hour. And it is a hot July here in the States, and I'm temporarily in Florida and really thrilled to be able to have you join us today from wherever you're calling in from, in the States or around the world. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for joining us for the replay. I am a author of the book Holding It All Together When You're Hypermobile, and also an EDS patient who's turned patient advocate. And frankly, try to share information and resources because it just shouldn't be this hard to find medical insights on how to take care of our bodies. So, one of the things I'm really passionate about is sharing information, particularly the things that help us feel better. And so that led me to inviting our guest who's with us today, Caroline Kamer. She's from Revival Wellness, and she is a Pilates instructor. And I've been personally working with her in Austin, Texas. And she's really helped me, and she's going to try to help you guys learn a couple of really key things that are critical with hypermobile EDS or any form of hypermobility or chronic pain. The first one is how to figure out how to turn on those core muscles when everybody's trying to tell you, like, sit up straight or, you know, use your core when nobody ever taught you how to turn on those muscles. And the second thing is, she's going to talk to us a little bit about the importance of releasing fascia in a gentle way. So, Caroline, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your resources that you're going to share with us here today. So, I'll hand it over to you and let you get started. For those of you that are just joining, if you want to share where you're calling in from in the chat, you're welcome to. But cameras off are okay, and I hope this is a really informative and fantastical session for those of you getting to learn from Caroline. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. Christy, you've just been such a light in my life and getting to um, kind of share experiences. I think that's so important, even though we each have our unique experiences, helping each other learn and helping each other on their journey as we're all just trying to feel better in our bodies, no matter what we're going through. So I would love to just quickly share my story and how I got here. Because originally I was in the corporate world, marketing and major sporting events side. So how did I get to Pilates? And that was really through my own journey with my body. So I had a really bad fall from a horse, and which affected kind of my L4, L5 into that S1 area. And I'm sure, like many of you, feeling like you're getting kind of passed along through one doctor to the next and not really knowing how to figure out what's going on for you. And I found it to be incredibly frustrating and made me feel really lost and disconnected from my body along the way, almost in a way of kind of being frustrated in my own skin and not knowing what to do or how to get out of this discomfort, which I know many of you face every single day, and it changes every day, right? Each day is a new day on how our body is experiencing our movement in the world. So um, going through that process is not fun, and then that led me to a treatment and injection that unfortunately went wrong and caused nerve damage all down my right side of my leg into my glute, and left me being told by doctors that I would never walk again without a cane. And I was devastated. I went definitely into a moment of what is my life going to look like now? You know, I'm in my 30s. I was an incredibly active person, and pretty much my whole world was shut down. And um, as I contemplated what life would look like, I also kept seeing doctors that would just tell me, no, you're not going to get better. Pretty much stop trying and accept where you're at. And it's maybe the spirit in me. I did have to take a moment and let those feelings be felt because I do think that is important as you go through those difficult times. But I had a turning point and I'm like, I'm not willing to accept this. I'm going to keep figuring it out. I am going to, maybe they say I'll walk with 2 canes, I'm gonna walk with 1. Like, I just kinda started trying to create little steps for myself where I felt like I was taking some control back, not knowing how I would do that. So, as I progressed in trying to find the right people and support around me, what continued to happen is people were trying to help me in their own way, but it was way too aggressive for my body. And I also learned not only with the injuries that I had, I completely wrecked my nervous system. It was in full on trauma response pretty much every day. And a lot of bodies go into that, but we don't understand what's happening. We don't understand that it actually is our nervous system is a part of our pain too, because it's trying to keep us safe. And as we try new things, it can really shut things down for us. So I sat with myself and I took a break from seeing professionals and I was like, how do I gently start to reconnect with my body, but also start to create some stability? Because that's what I really lacked. And I know with you, Christy, and just with all the EDS patients that I work with, stability, that's so important when you're hypermobile. But how do we achieve that without overstressing the body? And that's where I came to brainstorm and formulate kind of what I call the 3 like foundational core engagement exercises that you can do in the most gentle way. Many of them you can just do lying in bed if getting on the floor is too difficult. And honestly, for a long time, that was way too difficult. Getting on the floor was not an option. So these were things that I could do in bed and feel very, very supported. So as I started going through this process and I was able to progress, and then I got to kind of more and more intensifying the exercises, I started to learn, I think that there needs to be people out there in this world that have not only had experiences with their body like this, but who are not told no. I might tell you not yet, but this is what we can do now. And this is where we're here today, but tomorrow it's going to be a different day. Also, I felt like there needed to be people out there who understood one day may look like this and the very next day might look like this, because that's very much how my body is even to this day. Is one moment I can do all these things, the next moment I might need to throttle it back, and that was a big moment for me of accepting that. That acceptance piece is really important of like, I'm just going to meet my body of where it's at today. And that's what made me change my entire world, my career. And I wanted to get into working with patients and using Pilates because that is exactly what helped me get to where I am today. And I feel so honored that I do get to work with so many people and help them progress on their journey at the pace and on the path that they need to do that. So that's just a little bit about me. I also want to share I don't walk with canes anymore. So, and I do get to ride horses from time to time, which is my love and passion. So, which was a big win for me to get back to doing those exercises and those joys that I love in life. So, I'd love to kind of, if it's okay with you, Christy, kind of segue into those exercises and talk through them a little bit of how we can
Sure, sounds great.
okay, of how we can reconnect to the core. Because if you think about it, our core is in the middle of our body. Think about that as our epicenter to stability. If we don't have stability and that ability to turn on our core, then There's no way we can move upward or downward in our body and creating that stability. It's kind of like the nucleus of everything. Like we have to be able to be in touch with that and gain strength and control over that area before we can ask other parts of our body to kind of join in. So, the very first thing that I started doing, because our abdominals, there's layers to them, right? Our transverse abdominals are the deepest abdominals closest to our body. And then think about our rectus abdominis, which is like, think our six pack, is the most outward, right? Superficial layer to our abdominals. And deep breathing, not only is it so helpful for our nervous system to help us stay into a parasympathetic, a rest and digest, and moving away from that fight or flight feeling, which then causes our body to lock up, to really bound up. I don't know. That's always how I felt in my body, is just bound up, where like things literally felt stuck and didn't move in certain areas. Um, so this is what I call the zip up, exhale belly. And that really is a deep breathing exercise. So how I would always do this and how I work with my clients on this is, whether it be lying on the sofa, lying in bed, or if you can get on the floor, excellent, but you can do this anywhere. You're going to lie on your back and your
Let
knee.
me pause you and tell you, like anybody that wants to kind of like try along, feel free.
Yes, yes, go for it. And if you have any questions, I while you're doing it, just let me know.
And you're going to share like a PDF that I can share afterwards on like how to do that, right?
Absolutely. Yep. I have
Okay,
a little one sheeter put together, and everything that I'm telling you right now will be included in that, so that you have the resource to be able to do this on your own and feel very confident that you have all the right steps for it.
great. Sorry to interrupt.
No, absolutely. No, because this is a lot to take in all in one moment. I don't want anybody to think that they have to write anything down. It will all be provided for you. Um, so what is important is that those knees are bent and your feet are on the floor. That is so that we're not stressing your back in any way, and that you are grounded in that sense. Your back is also lying flat on whatever surface you've chosen to be on. And it's all about slowing things down so that our body can be a part of this process and we can reach that deep layer of our abdominals. That TA is what we call it. So I always like to bring my hands to either side of my rib cage. Think near those obliques. So that gives me that tactile feel of, am I really expanding my belly into my hands? So you will take a really deep inhale, and we're going to count to 5 nice and slow. And this can be in through the nose. So inhaling, holding at that top, and exhale deeply. I like to call it like a wave. So, like a wave, you're exhaling, your back becomes flat to the surface underneath of you, and thinking about zipping up those abdominals like you're zipping up your jacket so that you're engaging that core. And then as you release on your inhale, I have to count because I tend to rush myself. So I inhale and count for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, think about belly button coming down, then rib cage coming down as you zip the abs up. And you will feel, especially depending on where you're at and what condition your abdominals are at right now, just doing about 5 of those breaths, nice and slow, really feeling how as your back connects to the surface underneath of you on each exhale. I think about it as melting each vertebrae down to the mat. You will feel your core working. And I can attest this with working with you, Christy, that after, our first time, you're like, wow, I felt my core.
Yeah, and it's hard to sort of figure this out. So if you're not getting it, it's like one of those things you have to kind of practice because she's asking you to inhale and count to 5, but then when you're exhaling, it's literally this sense of like squeezing your core in this like wave of like this zipper is coming up, and it takes a little bit to get. So if you're not getting it right now, keep practicing.
Yes. And then I do think that feeling of having your hands around those ribs to feel how when you expand that you're expanding and inhaling, the breath is opening the ribs and lifting the belly because we breathe so much through our chest. It takes a moment for our brain to understand, how do I bring air to my belly first and not here? So like Christy said, this through a few reps, stick with it. It will come, and then all of a sudden that breath will happen. You're like, oh, that's a different feeling. So that was one of the very first exercises I started doing, and that's all I could do for quite some time. But with
And I know for me, like once I sort of figured out, like, oh, I'm turning on these muscles that I didn't ever know how to turn on before. Like she's, saying, I did like 5 breaths and you feel like you didn't do much, but like you're going to feel it. It was like a workout. So be gentle. Don't like do a whole bunch of reps because it's more than you realize.
Yes, yes, because with that deep breath, we are reaching that deepest layer, and that is that foundational core muscles that we're trying to reach. Because if our core can engage and we can teach it how to, then it brings relief not only to our low back, our glutes, but it allows us to start feeling lifted and posturally. You'll start to feel that you will stand straighter without having the back pain that maybe you once had, or the shoulder pain that you might once have, neck, wherever that pain finds itself in your body. You'll start to notice, okay, now I've turned on the core muscle and it's doing the job that it's supposed to be doing. I always say that our body is incredibly intelligent, and give it so much credit. It's a beautiful thing. It's always trying to help us, especially if we have some compromised areas in our body. But we have to teach it that it's okay. Like, our core can work. Stop outsourcing. These other muscles are tired. Let's make the core start doing the work so that we can turn off these over engaged muscles that have just had way too much, and honestly are in complete exhaustion, really, from doing, like, working in overdrive.
Yeah, I know my back muscles and, my entire spine was just like spastic. And I was always, slumped over. And when I was figuring this out, it was like, oh, this is how you hold posture that I could never hold. You told me to sit up straight and I like didn't know how to do it. But like then all of a sudden, I could walk better, more erect. I could sit up better. It was really it was really transformational for me.
Oh, well, it's been a transformation also getting to see it, because this is something that through the work as you do it, like, I got to see it visually with you, but you will find it with yourself that you just start to be taller. Something that you and I talked about is, wow, like, your mirror in your car is now not at the right level for you because you're taller now. So you will see a difference, but it is those slow, small steps. It, just like Christy said, it's doing 3. Start with 3. That is plenty. And also knowing your body, giving yourself a day break in between 2 days, what beating your body where it's at each day. And maybe one day you're able to do 5, but you woke up today and it's just not feeling that great. Don't do it. That is also one of the biggest things I learned when I started kind of taking control over what am I going to do with my own body, is listening to where it is. And that, I feel like, has helped guide me to the right people too, is when something doesn't quite feel right, I take a step back and I think about it. I don't rush into a decision or a treatment or working with a professional. That even if you can't figure out why it doesn't feel right, just listen to those feelings and continuing to connect with that. Um, I'm a true believer that our body is a really great guide for us. We just kind of have to open up our ears and listen. Um, so that leads me to kind of the next exercise, right? Is cat cow stretch. I'm sure many of you may know what this is, but we're slowing it down completely. I know when I used to do this, I would just go really, really quickly, arch my back and then round my back, arch and round. And it was too forceful for my body. It couldn't understand if this movement was safe or not. So I wasn't getting the full benefit. Also, I wasn't getting the core work and especially the oblique work. So that's the obliques are that like our side abdominal muscles, which are very important as well to our stability. So this movement is on all fours. Again, choose what surface feels the safest for you. Again, if an elevated surface like your bed is more comfortable, do that. If the floor, there's no benefit to doing it on your bed or doing it on the floor. So really choose where you're at, what feels best for you. And we want to make sure that our hands are just shoulder width distance. We don't want a super wide stance. Everything is in alignment right underneath each other. Your knees are right underneath the hips and they're hips distance. We're not going super wide either. We want to make sure that our body feels really safe in the alignment that we have ourselves in. And again, we're going to count that breath. And to me, that magic number is 5. It might feel long at first, but it'll soon become easier to work into that breath. So take it slow. If you have to start at a count of 3, go for it. Build into that count of 5. But you will round slowly, slowly, slowly that back. And you'll inhale as you round it like that cat, like that arched little rounded cat, and your eyes will look to the belly button if that's possible for your body. And you'll hold. You'll hold the highest round that you can without any force. And then slowly on your exhale, you're going to drop that belly to the floor. Back will naturally arch and eyes will float upward, not all the way back. We don't want to force anything in our neck, but slowly just lift the eyes up towards the ceiling if that's possible for your body. That's not a key substance to this. It's just a little additional part of our movement and our stretch, if it's possible for you. And again, building up into this. So really going slow. I really recommend that you count. So you're inhaling for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale slow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I still to this day, I just say it out loud. It just really helps my brain slow things down with this movement. And if a child's pose feels good to you, that's where you bring that booty back to the heels and you reach your arms forward. Go for that. If it doesn't, no need. But I do personally like to add that into my own routine. I know you do too, Christy, as just a nice quick reset after we've completed those reps of that cat cow.
Yeah, it's a great stretch for the low back.
Yes, yes. And if it feels okay, you could even walk those hands over to one side in your child's pose stretch to get a little side stretch, and then gently walk your hands over to the other side within that child's pose and get so you're stretching that side body if that tends to get tight for you as well. And then the other thing that I was really realizing I needed to start working on was my posture, because not only did I have extreme muscle atrophy in my lower body, my core was non existent, but I was walking on canes, which if any of you have ever done that, you turn rounded because you have something in your hand, you're reaching forward always, which makes you lean into things. And then all of a sudden, that lean puts pressure on your low back, your hip flexors, your quads are really messed up because everything is tightening in such a strange way because you're not meant to walk like that, right? We're meant to be a bit more upright. Um, this one was a bit more difficult for me. That's why I do have it last on my list. So I depending on how your body feels with each of these exercises, definitely take your time with it and integrating them and thinking about where you're at. I don't want you to be perfectly straight after you do these the very first time. We are just trying to create that small progression. The baby steps are the lasting steps. Small steps with the least amount of setback is absolutely the best way to do that. And despite having setbacks myself, the smaller I can make the step, the safer it felt for my body and allowed for these changes to happen more easily. Although you're just playing the long game with this of letting your body get acquainted with being in a new position, especially if you've created a compensation pattern for a long time. It's a transition for your body that needs to be slow. So um how I like to do this is either seated on your bed, on a sofa, or a chair. And your fingertips are touched down just like this onto whatever surface it is. And you're using what I call my little spider fingers, right? Because they're wide so that you feel stable. And you're sitting right up on your sit bones and those glutes, right? So we're not slouched. We're not
You're
leaned
making me sit up
forward.
straight.
I
Yeah.
know, sit up on those sit bones, Christy. And we, which automatically asks your core to assist you. And your feet are going to be bent, or your knees will be bent, and your feet right underneath of it in that nice 90-degree angle. Again, always staying in alignment with your body will help your body feel safe. So I just want to reiterate that. Um, and allow yourself with those spider fingers touch down to your surface. Take your inhale. Again, you're counting to 5 here, and I want you to think about lifting off that waist and think about like a string at the crown of your head being pulled upwards. So you're lifting, lifting, lifting on your inhale. Again, you're expanding that belly just as we did in that zip up exhale belly. So you're getting that core work too. And on your exhale, you're zipping those abs up like a wave. Continue to keep that length. A lot of times we can naturally on our exhale kind of sink. We're thinking about keeping the lift. So as you inhale, you're growing tall, expanding that belly. On your exhale, zipping up those abs, grow taller. Think vertebrae lengthens. And just do about 3 of these again to start. This one's a bit more advanced. And having some core development with the prior 2 exercises will allow for this next one to feel a bit more natural and you to feel that core supporting you. If you feel that your back is taking over, that is your red flag to be like, "Ooh, not today. Our core is not turning on. This is not this is not a good exercise today. Maybe we try it tomorrow or we take a little break from it." I definitely had those moments with this one. This was, like I said, one slower to add. So I thought, okay, if I can't do this all the time, what's my hack on this one, right? How can I still understand and bring my brain into what posture I'm supposed to be in, even if I'm still using canes? Like, how can I work on this without overloading the body? That's what brings me to one of my favorite things that I still do to this day. Um, and I think not to digress, I think that's important is it is a everyday part of my life. It will be for the rest of my life. Um, if I kind of let go of keeping in touch with my body and doing work that facilitates, especially my core muscles, I regress a lot. So, I
Same. When I'm
yeah,
not doing my practice, then like I can't sit up straight. Yeah, this is really
yeah.
a daily thing.
So
Yeah.
I understand that this is for life. I my heart goes out to everyone, and I do think that it makes us stronger in every way that um we are on this journey, and just remembering that we're on it together and we're here to help each other, which is why I absolutely love your beautiful webinars, Christy. So this little band, okay, I just want to reiterate, it's very, very light. It's the lightest band, TheraBand, that comes in the little box set. Now, you can see I've trimmed mine and cut it. Most TheraBands are nice and long. It still can be long, and you just knot it where it needs to be. Now, quickly to show you what I have, and this is, the length is dependent on your body, right? So we're going to loop this, and this is right in the crook of my elbow. I'm going to reach it around. And if you need help and assistance, definitely always ask for help and assistance to do this. It's behind my back and around my other crook. So let me just kind of stand up and show you what this looks like. Hopefully you can see it.
Yeah.
Can you see that, Christy?
Yeah. So it's wrapped around kind of your arms and it's literally like pulling your shoulders down and back gently.
Gently. So it's nice and loose. So you want enough tension where you do get that, because I need that proprioceptive feedback for my body, to really connect. Sometimes I'm still not sure where I am within space. So the feelings are help me connect. So this gives you that feeling. So if I am standing up nice and straight, do you see how loose this is? And like I can move around, I could wash dishes. Now, if I were to lean forward, it pulls on me. So it gives me that feedback of, hold on, you're leaning forward now. You need to come back. You need to come back. You need to lift up. You need to engage your core. And it's very, very gentle. And that's why it's important to have the lightest band, but it does need to have enough feeling for you. But that's what really, really helped me, my brain, understand where I am in space, because when a compensation pattern has been going on so long, there's been chronic pain for so long, we don't even realize we're doing it. Our body doesn't even know we're doing it.
And that's just a like physical therapy, TheraBand, and you've taken it and tied it in a knot and sort of cut the ends. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like people in our world might recognize the sense that we get from a pretty expensive product called a body braid, which, is designed to be like kind of like a body posture thing, it helps you kind of down and back. That's like a really inexpensive sort of hack for that.
Yes. Yes. Uh on Amazon, a 3 pack of these is about $10 to $15. And I, use the other bands for other things. And if you don't want to cut it and like it can just have those long straps, and you can decide to knot it and unknot it for whatever use you're using your band for. But I watch TV with it. A lot of times, like doing dishes is still a thing that's aggravating. I wear it when I do dishes or when I'm on the computer, because you can type with it. I know you've used it as well. So that's a way to start to retrain the body without doing that exercise that I just walked through. This is kind of how I needed to slowly integrate that other exercise, is I had to understand the feeling. Otherwise, I realized I was trying to force it a little bit too much. And that
But that allows you to realize like how you take that posture and engage the core.
yes.
Yeah.
And the moment you start to feel your back kick on, that's the moment you know you lost your core. Yeah.
And to take that thing off.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Or to lift up and away. for me, that's my cue to lift up and away. I've leaned forward, my back's kicked on, all of that. So, um, yeah, I always love like if there's a simpler way to do something, less expensive way to do something, I'm always into it and want to share that too because everything that we do for our body is adds up for sure. So, if we can have some cost savings somewhere, let's do it. um, but kind of segueing into where I got to be in a pretty good place with my body. My setbacks, luckily, were kind of fewer and far between. I still had a couple major setbacks, but that's where Pilates really came into the picture. And the things that I have included on the one sheeter are very foundational core engagement exercises, but it is similar in the ways of Pilates. And that's how I got into really wanting to work with um, people with I fondly say like specialty bodies. Like I love that my body is special and it wants particular things and it changes and it's dynamic and all of that. I think I've learned to really embrace that. And I love working with people who are experiencing similar things and so that we can I keep reiterating this, but meeting their body where they're at that day. And I just, if that's the one thing that kind of resonates is just don't let that frustration go if you can, and just keep loving your body because it's amazing. And it's just trying to help you. It just might not know how right now.
Yeah, and don't let the word Pilates like intimidate you, like, oh, we're all in there on this, mega board. I mean, this is like the baby steps of being able to get to the point where you might be able to do Pilates. So,
Yes, yes. My first journey into Pilates, I lasted 5 minutes. But that 5 minutes slowly became, 10 and 15 and then 30 and onwards upwards to an hour. And then some days I had to shift it back, right? I just kind of figured out where it was, but it really did allow me to learn how my body is supposed to work with each other. And so that the same areas weren't being overworked. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I think things are kind of working. The things that I have like in my routine, the people I'm seeing, the treatments and my exercises and all of that. And uh, I could tell that I was getting in a place where I was scared to try anything new. Because I was like, why mess anything up? Like I'm okay with where I'm at. And I'm really thankful that I did find a way to push through and try some new things. Some of them worked, some of them just didn't, right? Like, but if I hadn't tried Pilates, because let me tell you, I was totally freaked out and scared to try it. Um, it I wouldn't be here and I would still be on my canes. And I do appreciate those courageous moments that I were able to find. And I know each and every one of you has had those moments too. And I would just encourage you to keep listening to your body and keep kind of seeking what's out there, what feels right for you, and try to continue to keep an open mind about trying new things. And I honestly recently just did that. And I've always heard about fascial release. I've had hands on manual therapy work for years and years and years and continue to. However, rolling and doing the kind of typical things never really worked for my body, or it felt like it worked and then my body would rebound, meaning it tightened up even more than what I went into the treatment. And so I always kind of steered away a little bit from that. And I came to be introduced to a new method and new techniques around using similar tools that you and I all know, foam rollers, lacrosse balls, things like that. And the beauty of it is that your body is a part of the process. And like I touched on earlier, my nervous system is still extremely sensitive. So it has to be a part of the process. And breath is really, really important for our nervous system. And that's what intrigued me about this fascial release technique is um, not only are you doing different movements that are cross fibering your muscles to create release of bound up fascia, it is using your breath so your body feels a part of it and your body is in control of the movement. I think there is something interesting and special about when you are a part of what's going on in your body and it's not being done to you, that your body feels safe. And you provide that safety because you can control the intensity. You can stop and start if you need to. It's totally um, in your control. And I think as bodies who've been through a lot, there is an aspect to the safety that's really, really important. And the other thing is, I think a lot of us have either heard this or grown up hearing this is like, uh, there's pain with gain and push through it and breathe through it and you can do it, push harder. And that was one of my biggest mistakes on my wellness journey is I did that and I would get worse and worse. Where this technique is, if there is a sensation that is a 6 out of 10, you stop, you add padding, you add things that take down that intensity, because if you're reaching a 6 to 7 out of 10, your body is associating it with being unsafe, that it should tighten up, it should protect you, it should do everything to um, protect you from what is going on, which means that your fascia will become tighter than it already was, and all those things that cause the discomfort. And as I was introduced to this, the more I learned, the more my body really received it. Which again, as I reiterate, my body doesn't receive everything's very, very well. So I was intrigued. I did a bit more research and decided actually to go get trained in this method up in Colorado. And I have to say, it has been such a game changer. And I know the word release can probably not feel um, like a good thing, especially with EDS. You're like, wait, I'm already hypermobile. I don't want to release things. And that's just a way that we speak about it because it's easier to understand. But um, our fascia, when it becomes bound up, and fascia literally wraps around bones, organs, muscles, joints. It's in between our ribs. It's if you think about it, it's like a saran wrap, if you will. And when it gets bound up, think about rolling a nice clean sheet of saran wrap, rolling it up into the little crunchy balls. Well, if that's where it
Ouch.
is, ouch, right? And if that's where it is throughout your body, no matter how much hydration that you're taking in and electrolytes and all those good things, think about how much, if you poured water on a crinkled up ball of saran wrap, how much water does it really receive, or does it just kind of splash off? And along those lines, same thing with your circulation. It can't reach those areas quite as well. Um, which I personally have a lot of circulatory issues. And so I was like, interesting. I also drink a ton of water and I use electrolytes once a day. I'm like, why am I feeling so dehydrated in certain areas of my body? This is why. And so, amongst other things. So by actually releasing these areas, think about if we can pull that nice clean sheet right out of the box of our plastic wrap, and if we dumped water on it, it would receive all the water. So it will receive the hydration that we're intending it to receive. It will receive the circulation we're intending it to receive. So it actually will create more stability in your body because it is where it's supposed to be. And that will create more stability in bodies who have EDS or other hypermobility issues that you're looking to create stability. And I think we've talked about like in the past in this industry of like, well, we want to be flexible. Well, actually, too much flexibility, as many of you know, is dangerous in a way. And so it causes injuries and all of that. Actually, we just want stability and we want the support that our body was intended to have. And all of our bones, joints, all muscles, all of that. So um, that's what I have found to be incredibly interesting with this technique. And so I just want to encourage you to just kind of keep seeking out what your body might like, and listening to your body, and if it feels right to give it a try, maybe that's the right decision for you to do. But I do know that my biggest turning points where I did have um, progression on my body's journey was when I did have the courage to say yes to something or to say no to something. And I think that that's really important to say. Saying no and doing what feels in alignment with your body is really important too, not just the saying yes.
Yeah, and that's in general, when you have chronic illness,
Mm.
learning how to say no when, you frankly, you just want to go, God, I want to be like everyone else. I want to be normal. I want to push through. I want to go to that thing or be able to go to the grocery store or whatever it is, but really learning how to listen to your body is one of the hardest things. And particularly when you're talking about like releasing these chronically tight muscles, being slow and gentle.
Yes, and I kind of associate it with how my body was trying to like outsource the work instead of um my core jumping in, especially my glutes jumping in to do the work to support my body where I needed it. I was outsourcing. And I think for me, I realized for a time I was outsourcing. Yes, I want to, and it's so important to have guidance and a really good team around you, treatment team, medical team, whatever you need for your particular path with your body. But I realized there was a moment where I was like, oh, I'm outsourcing my decisions a little bit too much. So it's kind of like how my body was outsourcing the work. I was outsourcing my decisions and not really thinking about how I felt about it or how my body felt about it. And I think that really was uh, a moment of really positive change of, wait, I need to think about like how I feel about this. I'm told it should be good for me, but I need to think about, is it good for me? I need to stop outsourcing my feelings and my opinions and kind of think about how I feel and then connect them to the information that I'm receiving from others.
That's really interesting because just to hear you say that, like I'm outsourcing my decisions about my body, that's really a way of saying, like trusting your instincts and your gut. And so many of us in the EDS community, we're like chasing a diagnosis or we're going trying to find the specialists and the doctors, and they might tell us different things. And so we're kind of like confused and really honing in and going, okay, wait a minute, what feels right to me? And the person that I need to listen to is myself and my body, and take this medical expert or whoever it is, that's their professional opinion, and bounce it and with my body's needs and opinion. That's that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's feeling in a confused state, especially when you're getting conflicting opinions on the steps that you should take, can be really frustrating, and it can really make you disconnect, I think, from those gut feelings and instincts. So um and I know that's easier said than done, but I noticed as I started doing these deep breathing exercises like the zip up exhale belly, like the cat cow, I started to create that physical connection with my body, and then that allowed me to deepen the kind of those deeper connections, those the instincts, the what feels right started to come a little bit easier because breath connects us to our nervous system. I keep tying it together, but and if we can keep feeling safe in our own body, that voice will become a little louder for you.
Yeah, I'm actually writing a small ebook with another EDS advocate, Maggie Buckley, right now, and kind of the first section in it is it's like fragile, handle instead of with care, it's handle with calm. You know, you have to learn how to calm your nervous system before the healing can begin. And it's kind of the last thing we think of. You know, we're like so desperately out there trying to fix it and go to this and get this treatment and injection and, all these other things. And, it's like we're not going to be able to actually heal until we can find calm. So,
That's oh my gosh, I love that you're doing that. Yes, because we always are thinking like, what things can I do? What things should I do? What things can I do to fix this and um to make myself feel better? And that starts here first. It starts with from within. It starts with the body. Because even if you choose the treatments that are absolutely right for you, if your body can't receive them, like you said, from a calm state, you won't receive the maximum benefit that you could.
yeah. So, want to be respectful of everyone's time. I will share with you that if you're interested in learning more about like breath work, I do a free support group with the U.S. Pain Foundation on the second Tuesday of every month, where we work on breath work and mindfulness and meditation practices to try to bring about that calm. If you're interested in learning more, just Google US Pain Foundation, like events, and look for the mindfulness one. And when you register, it sends you the meeting notices every month. So you only have to do it once. So that's a way to practice and gain that. And then we can take if there's any questions from the audience, or maybe anybody wants to know where they might learn about this fascia release technique, Caroline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody who's on here live have any questions they want to either raise their hand, go off mute, or put it in the chat. You want to ask Caroline? Sometimes people are, driving or not feeling good, so you don't always get questions. But is there somewhere that people could learn about this fascia release technique, um, or what words might they be able to Google or learn about this?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would strongly suggest that looking into it is wonderful, but working with someone one on one is really important with this work because you do have to get into some different positions that we kind of have to be a little bit creative about. So, but yeah, it's called the fascial remedy. And so her name is Julia Blackwell. She's really, really wonderful. That's who I studied under. And so I got to meet her when she was in Austin. That's how I was introduced to it, and then decided to fly up and get trained in her technique and become certified. So yes, so I use the tools and go from that approach because again, I do think it's important for you to be experiencing it in your own body. And depending on if is this is the right sort of you feel like it's the right sort of plan or treatment to try for you, I would be happy to chat with you about it just to kind of explore if it is, and also see if we could even do some one-on-one sessions remotely via Zoom. So
Oh,
I'll
great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely something that we could do that way once we kind of have some consultations and learn your body and what you're trying to achieve.
So I was going to I don't know if you want to put your email in the chat, and your website is revivalwellness.com, correct?
Revivalwellnesscoaching.com. Yeah.
Okay,
And then on the one sheeter, I have all my contact information.
terrific.
So that'll be there for everybody, but I'll just throw in my email too. If any questions come up that I can help, I'm always happy to do that. The one thing I would love to reiterate is that I am not a physical therapist. I'm not a medical doctor of any kind. I have learned through my own experiences and through all of the physical therapy manual work and all of the treatments I've explored and kind of brought them together to help my clients. And then I am a certified classically trained Pilates instructor. And then obviously certified in this fascial release technique. So just a little reminder of that. If there's any questions that are a little bit too medical based, I'll just let you know that that's not really in my wheelhouse. And I wouldn't be the best person to answer. And then also just something to touch on. I know if you all have watched Dr. Stephanie Hahn's webinar with Christy. I have the pleasure of getting to work with Stephanie in the studio. So if you're ever in Austin, Texas, and want to come into longevity, PT, and Pilates, I would love to see you there too.
Yeah, her webinar also on my YouTube channel, which is already posted, is on pelvic floor and
Yes.
how to handle that when you're hypermobile. So if you haven't seen that one, go check out my YouTube channel. Awesome. Well, it looks like there's no questions, and we've taken up our hour. Thank you so much, Caroline, for your time and your passion for helping people and for helping me. And I'm delighted that you were willing to come on here and share some of these things. So the recording will be shared on the Substack channel that I do, Zebras Underground. So if you're not subscribed to that, go to Substack and look up Zebras Underground. And then we'll have the exercise worksheet that she's going to share also included there. So lots of thanks and praise coming in the chat. So thank you so much for all the information. And I hope everyone gets to have, you know, a stay cool kind of summer day and listen and take care of your bodies.
Yes, thank you all so much. Such an honor.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. Thank you, everybody. Be well.